I just wanted to talk a little today about a book I read recently, which had a very interesting title. It was Why We Are Carnivores, and the subtitle was um, How Plants Are Trying to Poison You. And I kind of resonated with one part of it, the plants are trying to kill you part, because I found out in my own life that there are anti-nutrients in plants that you want to avoid, at least people who are sensitive to them, like I turned out to be. I had horrible inflammation in my lower joints, ankles, knees. Every once in a while it would pop up, then it would go away. It wasn't about the joint, it was about like some kind of inflammation that would come on and sometimes stay like a week, and it would be debilitating. But I finally got a book that talked about how these anti-nutrients, like lectins, saponins, one of the ones are in soy, peanuts have a lot, and when you're sensitive to this stuff, they can cause a lot of problems in your body, one of which is inflammation. The lady who wrote the book had Crohn's disease and cured it by getting rid of basically seeds. So all nuts, seeds, beans, and grains are seeds. And seeds don't want an animal to eat them. To digest them. They want to be eaten by the animal and then pooped out whole in the animal's stool. So they have a lot of phytochemicals, plant-derived chemicals, that keep them from being digested, and these cause problems in our body. So I did a video about that, sharing that experience and how I cured it by getting rid of seeds and nuts, which I did a lot of at the time. Pumpkin seed milk that I made myself was one of my staples. I was on a liquid diet, had been on a liquid diet for over 20 years, and part of that was these nut milks, seed milks. And when I gave those up, I found out just how little protein you actually need. Because now all I eat is fruits and vegetables in liquid form, and mostly. And it's amazing. So it turns out that human milk is only about 3% protein. It's the lowest protein content of any animal's milk. And I did a video about this, and a lady wrote to me and said, no, it's more like 1% protein. Like, wow, okay. That's even more significant. So we need very little protein. But the title of this book intrigued me because, being on a more radical diet myself, it was interesting to hear somebody else's experience. This guy says he hasn't eaten anything but red meat for 20 years. He just drinks water and eats meat. And that's kind of interesting. And even though I haven't had meat since 1973, I'm definitely not going to start eating it again because it's so full of toxins, way too much protein, just it's silly, causing a lot of environmental damage. All these animals have to suffer so we can eat their dead bodies. Think about what it is, dead, decaying flesh. Yuck, I'm not going to start eating that. But I was interested in his experience, and he made some interesting points. And this, before I talk about that, I just want to say that, we're really taught by school, by our religious upbringing, all that stuff, to basically believe what people say if it makes sense to us. If you read something somebody writes and you agree with it, it resonates with you, you tend to believe like everything they come up with. But you don't have to do that. Discernment is another way to look at it. Bring some discernment to the table, and you can get little tidbits from people. Maybe a lot of wisdom here and there, but a lot of other things they might say, you're never going to agree with or resonate with, or in your experience find to be true. So that's why this book was, and I did get a little gem of wisdom, which was real interesting. He said that it's not about cholesterol, which we know cholesterol does have something to do with your overall health, but especially triglycerides. And these are like fat particles in your blood. And we have a lot of this, too much really, most people. So anyway, there's 3 different kinds of essential fatty acids: omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9. And most people get way too much omega-6. That's the one that's in, the fast food, but virtually everything. Olive oil, it's very healthy, but it's mostly omega-6. So that's one example. And in the book, he states that he doesn't eat chicken, doesn't eat pork, and he doesn't eat eggs, because these all have a lot of omega-6 in them. He said that's what matters, not the cholesterol number, not even the triglyceride number, but what it's made up of. Are you getting too much 6? That could be a big problem, is a big problem. So, interesting, we think of, people say, oh, I try to do a healthy diet, I don't eat red meat. Yeah, well, that used to be a good idea, and probably still is, but according to this guy, the ungulates, animals with the 4 stomachs like cows, goats, sheep, they have a bacteria in their gut that doesn't allow the manufacture, the making of omega-6 in the meat. So they don't have a lot of omega-6. So they're going to be healthier than these other meats that do, like chicken, pork, and eggs. So interesting stuff, and I just wanted to share that and invite you to play around with these ideas. Of course, eating a carnivore diet, really, really kind of wild idea, but certainly people have cured certain things and made conditions better by adopting a much simpler diet like that. Even if it's carnivore, you're getting rid of the fat, the starch. You're getting rid of a lot of anti-nutrients, a lot of stuff that's really, really bad for you. And doing a lot of protein like this, like the Atkins diet type of thing, there's so many of them. Keto diet now, paleo diet, where you're allowed all the protein and fat you want, but you can't eat the carbohydrates. That's an easy diet to stay on because you're not hungry all the time. You're eating all this heavy protein that's taking a long time to digest, so you're not hungry that much. So it's easy to stay on, and you're streamlining your diet. You're making it simpler for your body, and it's kind of way more natural, I was reading recently about how we need lots of different fruits and vegetables to create different probiotics in our guts. So they're saying the bigger variety you can do, the better your intestinal flora is going to be. But a lot of primitive cultures, who are some of the healthiest people around, they only eat a few staple foods. Like in the Himalayas, they have basically barley, millet, a couple of crops, and that's it. So, I don't know, I've always kept to a pretty simple diet. So, I don't think we need to worry too much about that. What we do need to worry about is the omega-6. You don't want to get too much. And I think to experiment, to play around with seeing what works for you. And I've been mind blown to find out just how little protein I need again, and it's just been such a journey, and it's really made me feel a lot better, lighter, happier, more clarity up top, and I don't know. It's just fun. It's a journey, and I wish you well on yours, and I hope maybe you got a little bit out of this somewhat fragmentary video. All right, namaste.